All right, someone like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago requested a review of WinStar, which was weird. I don't even know if I had mentioned that I was going to be stopping here on the way back to Vegas, but I'll give it to you from the parking lot. It's really loud in there, and there's a lot of security. I don't know if they're going to like me filming. So, okay, I played 26 days over the summer in 2019 before Corona, and then I played about 7 weeks right after it reopened. After Corona, it reopened April 20th, 2021. Very different. First, and I haven't gone into play today, I'm going to when I'm done eating. I got food on my car right here. First, a little weird, they take $1 before the first card is dealt to the small blind. So if the blinds are 1-2, they take that one from the small blind, drop it, and the small blind gets credit for that. So if it comes around and he wants to call the big blind, he only owes $1 more. In 2-5, you know, they take one of the two, so it looks weird. There's $1 out there from the small blind, and same thing, he gets credit for it. If he wants to call the $5, he owes 3 more, even though there's only one sitting out there. Some people have said it goes to the promos, which I don't think is the case. Others have said it's just the casino taking the money, and we're on a reservation land. We're in Chickasaw Nation here in Thackerville, Oklahoma. So you're paying every hand. Also, it's a very rare place that takes rake pre-flop. So in most places, say, you know, the blinds are 1-2, and there's a raise to 20, and then a re-raise to 100, and everyone folds. So you have the 1 from the small, the 2 from the big, the 20 from the razor, and that re-raise of 100, 20 of it was matched with the original razor. So you have that 20, the other 20, and the blinds. So it's like technically a $43 pot. But in most places, there's no rake until you get to the flop. That hand had no rake in most places. If that hand happened here, they're raking as if it's a $43 pot. So the games in 2019 were very good. It rarely happened, although it still happens sometimes. Like, there weren't a lot of folds pre-flop. You know, there's not a lot of folding pre-flop in good games. But it happens sometimes, and like in most other places, a hand like that, you know, you just win all the money. And here they're taking $4 and the $1 in rake. Here they're taking $4 in rake and the $1 before the first card was dealt. So in a hand like that here, $5 is gone. So the thing was that before Corona, the games were so great that it made up for it. It also made up for the lodging. This doesn't really have to do with the casino. But to come here for a few weeks and play, in 2019, I stayed down the interstate at a motel, and I stayed here when they would let me, when they gave me like cheap rooms or comped rooms, and it was okay. It was a lot of days in the motel down the interstate, but the games were making up for it. The games made up for all these things that were weird. Like, there's not a lot around here. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're in Thackerville, Oklahoma, and the room rates, there weren't many rooms, and they were expensive, and they're taking money before the first card is dealt, and they're raking pre-flop. And promos, there's the bad beat. I think briefly there was like between like 10 a.m. and noon, there was like an Aces Cracked promo, and I was rarely here that time of day. So whatever money is being allotted for promo funds, I was never getting any of it. The games were making up for everything before Corona. After Corona, much different story. They were closed for a year and a month. And the dealers left. Choctaw opened a lot sooner. It's like an hour northeast in Durant, Oklahoma. And the card rooms in Dallas, they existed already, but people started playing them a lot during and after Corona. So the dealers left to take jobs there, and then they closed bingo here, turned it into like horse race betting, and made the bingo employees the poker dealers with very little to no training. So we weren't seeing a ton of hands per hour after Corona. I was here for 7 weeks. I was here the day they reopened, April 20th, 2021, and I was here for about 7 weeks. We weren't seeing a ton of hands per hour, and a lot of mistakes costing a lot of time. So after, you still had that $1 coming out before the flop. You still had you know, rake pre-flop. A $1 coming out before the cards are dealt. You still had that rake pre-flop, and we weren't seeing as many hands. And there were a lot of mistakes being made, and a lot of the players also were playing Choctaw. Like, people who live somewhat in the middle of Choctaw and here were playing Choctaw. Like, they became loyal to Choctaw because it opened so much sooner than here, and people in Dallas really stopped coming up here because they had like a lot more confidence in the legality of those club poker rooms. So the player pool was down also. It was much different for those 7 weeks in 2021 versus the 26 days in 2019. So I enjoyed it, and I liked the casino, and I liked the offers they give. Just Corona and how long poker was closed here changed a lot. So I have no problem playing for like a day or like a weekend if I'm driving through. I don't know if I'm ever gonna come for like, you know, somewhere between like 2 weeks and like 2 months to play a lot though. Like what I do in Council Bluffs. I don't know if I would ever do that here. I gave it a try after Corona, and it was much, much different. Employees are pleasant, and I imagine when I go into play in a few minutes, they must be better. It's been 2.5 years since I was here, but I think still the player pool is going to be way down with people playing in the Dallas clubs and Choctaw, and yeah, just different and not as good. But it was amazing summer 2019. In addition to me winning a lot, that was one of the reasons I'm calling it amazing. It's like the conversations, it was really fun, and you had a lot of people coming from like all over. Now there are other options, and it's different. So I enjoyed it, but it's changed and not as good as it was. There is my review, and I'm gonna finish eating, and then I'm gonna go in and play. One more thing about my thoughts on WinStar. So they have 1-2 and 1-3. I love that. I love a place that has both. Not many places do, because you don't need to play shorthanded. For example, end of the night, say there's like 4 1-2 games going, there's only 2 1-3 games going. There might be like a full 1-3 table, and then I'm on a table that gets down to like 5-handed. And what can you do? You're pretty far from breaking. Like, you need 5 people to leave in those 2 tables combined to break and get down to the final 1-3 of the night. It's unlikely at the end of the night, you know, 3-4 people are going to show up and fill up your table. What can you do? You could change games. You're not changing tables within the same game, but you could change from 1-3 to 1-2. If you ask to go to 1-2, you're a new player to 1-2, and you can leave 1-3 and go to 1-2. There might be 3 full 1-2 tables, and the 4th 1-2 table only has 1 open seat. So if you don't want to play 5-handed, you could play in a full game. You could go play 9-handed. So I've done that when, you know, you get short. Because I don't like playing short. So in 2019, it happened a lot towards the end of the night. Like 1-3 would start dying down a lot earlier than 1-2. And that's usually when I would move to 1-2, because I wanted to play in a full game. And it was awesome. Got more hours in. Also more fun. Different game. 1-2 definitely plays smaller. The max is 200, and you see a lot of raises to single digits, but still money to be made, and it was a lot of fun. Probably more fun conversations at the 1-2 tables than the 1-3. So yeah, that was a big plus to WinStar. I'm trying to think of another place that has that. Vegas as a city has it. You know, it takes hopping casinos to do it, but you can. Bally's kind of with the 2-3 and the 1-3 right now. You might call it Horseshoe. I think Harrah's Atlantic City, you know, when I was there playing 7 rooms in 7 states in one day, there was just 1 table going. But I think last time I was there, heading out to Vegas last year, around this time last year, I think they had 1-3 and 1-2, or 1-2 and 1-3, or 1-2 and 2-3, something like that. Not 100% sure. I guess Venetian kind of has it. They have 1-3, and they have 2-4, and they have 3-5. The thing is, 2-4, like, people don't really know what that is. It doesn't run that often. I don't know if I've ever seen... I usually see 0 tables of it going. Occasionally I see 1 table of it going, so it's not really the same thing. But yeah, big plus to WinStar in that regard, even though as a whole I don't like it as much as I did in all the other aspects. And remember, rice is a spoon food.